Everyone in the forest knew about the Great Sky Race. It was more than just a tradition, it was a legacy. Every decade, the strongest and fastest birds from every region gathered to race through the clouds, across mountains, over rivers, and back to the elder tree. It wasn't just about winning, it was about proving your worth. But no one expected Finn, a tiny brown sparrow with frayed feathers and a limp in his right wing, to even show up. From the moment he hatched, Finn had struggled. A storm shattered his nest when he was just days old. His mother was gone before he could learn to fly. Other birds called him ground-bound. While they soared, he practiced in silence, fluttering between branches, trying to believe that one day he'd take to the skies like the rest of them. Every morning, Finn performed a ritual. He'd perch on a low branch, close his eyes and whisper, "One more flap, one more inch." It was his quiet rebellion against every voice that said he'd never make it. It wasn't elegant and it wasn't fast, but it was his. The year of the Great Sky Race arrived. Egrets polished their wings, hawks sharpened their talons, and ravens trained in the shadows. When Finn stepped onto the mossy starting line, a few birds chuckled. "Is he lost?" one crow sneered. "Maybe he thinks this is a walking race," another joked. Finn said nothing. He looked up at the long path ahead, up through the dense fog, across jagged peaks, through the choking winds, and back to the elder tree. It seemed impossible, but then again, so had flying. At the start signal, the birds shot upward like arrows. Finn flapped awkwardly, struggling to lift off. By the time he reached the first branch, the others were already specks in the sky. The weight of humiliation settled on his wings, heavier than any storm. "You should quit," a voice inside whispered. "They were right about you." But just as despair crept in, a voice from above echoed through the trees. "You're not racing them, little one," said a calm, deep voice. Finn looked up to see an old owl perched in the shadows of a hollow branch. "You're racing yourself," the owl said. "The race of life isn't about beating others. It's about flying farther than you did yesterday." Finn's feathers bristled. The owl's words clung to his heart like sunlight after rain. He bowed in quiet thanks and resumed flapping, not to win, not to impress, but because stopping would mean giving in to everything he'd fought against. Hours passed, wind howled, rain lashed against his fragile wings. At one point, he crashed into a branch and tumbled into a ravine. His tiny body ached, his feathers were soaked and torn. He looked up, saw the sky, and thought of quitting. But then, he remembered the ritual. He closed his eyes. One more flap, one more inch, and somehow, he rose again. When Finn finally reached the last leg of the race, the elder tree loomed in the distance. Spectators had already gathered to celebrate the winners. The great hawk stood proudly with a laurel of twigs on his head. The doves were singing. No one noticed the trembling silhouette approaching from afar. When Finn finally touched the branch at the base of the elder tree, he collapsed. The forest fell silent. Then a single robin, moved by the sight, began to clap her wings. Another joined, then another. Soon the entire forest erupted in applause, not for the fastest, not for the strongest, but for the sparrow who refused to stop. Later that night, the owl landed beside Finn, who rested beneath a leaf canopy. "Did I win?" Finn asked with a weak smile. The owl chuckled. "You won your race. And that's the only one that matters." The moral of story. In the race of life, you're not competing against others. You're competing against the limits you once believed were yours. Success isn't always about speed or strength, but about the courage to rise again when the world expects you to stay down. Every flap forward, no matter how small, brings you closer to who you were meant to be.